This is episode 262 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. And now a word from our sponsor, Control and Compound.
Here's how infinite banking works in under 60 seconds. You have to save your money somewhere. Well, we think the best place to save it is inside a cash value life insurance policy. You save some money in there, it grows tax-free for the rest of your life. Then an opportunity or emergency comes along. Let's say a few years down the road, you can buy a business, buy a property, buy an income-producing asset. You leverage the infinite banking policy, borrow against your asset, take advantage of the opportunity. But your money still stays in the infinite banking policy. You're not borrowing your money, you're borrowing the insurance company's money. So your money's in the policy, it's in the opportunity, and it's providing a death benefit. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. You get to retirement and you have this massive cash value life insurance, leverage that tax-free, and you don't repay those loans. You sit on the beach and you spend that money tax-free every month. Doesn't show up on a tax return, and you leave your family a huge tax-free death benefit.
For more information, visit www.controlandcompound.com/Andrew Hines. Welcome back to the show. Today I have Adrian Pannozzo on, and Adrian was on many years ago, and back then he was doing duplexes and triplexes, raising investor funds. They were doing renos, but man, has he ever grown since then. And now they're doing multifamilies, 8, 9, 10 units, up to 60 units. And they're funneling all these deals after renovation into the MLI Select program with CMHC, where they're getting 50-year amortizations and lower interest rates and ultimately better cash flow and all their investors' money back out a lot of the time. Not always, but a lot of the time. So it was a really interesting story. I'm fascinated by the growth because it can make a lot of sense to see people grow, and then sometimes you scratch your head and you're like, how did they grow that fast? But I know that on the inside it was all logical. There was, a moment where they realized, hey, we have a team that could handle this and we're paying this much for this service. Let's go ahead and insource property management and so on. So they've got in-house property management, construction, lead acquisition. And I called Adrian out on this because I've been thinking about doing this in the episode. They're building their own lists manually for acquisitions. So in the US, you have services like PropStream where you can just get, any property address, owner information, all that very easily. But in Canada, we don't have that centralization of information. Well, they're doing some pretty interesting stuff to actually build their own lists. And that takes a team, that takes systems. And Adrian is certainly systematic. And I think you're going to get a lot out of this episode. There's a lot of gold nuggets dropped. So just before we jump into the episode, I want to ask you to please pause this for just one moment and rate and review this show 5 stars if you haven't already done so, and share it with somebody you think it could help. The best way you can help show gratitude if you're enjoying the show or if it's helping you is to share it with somebody else you think it could help. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump into this awesome episode with Adrian Pannozzo. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have Adrian Pannozzo back on the show. It's been a couple of years, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely at least 4.
I think it's been 4 years, really?
4.
Oh, so you were like the first year of the podcast.
Definitely pre-COVID.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it had been that long. Okay. So I think we were introduced back when you were, I probably heard of you through Sandy McKay. And
way back then, yeah.
Yeah. Do you still work with Sandy?
No, we don't.
Oh, okay.
No.
So you were doing stuff with him back then, but tell me, what's new? It's been a while.
Yeah, so we really scaled over the last few years. We transitioned more so into the apartment building space. Historically, we've always been into the triplex, fourplex, smaller multi-family space, and since rates went through the roof, so on and so forth, those numbers were hard to still be attractive, especially with the BRRRR and those refinances and capital being left in deals and whatnot. So we transitioned into the apartment building space, 8 units, 12 units, 20 units, and so on and so on. And we've really been able to ramp things up and still make the numbers work with those acquisitions, primarily because of the financing.
Yeah. Are you talking about MLI Select? So that was the big change, because you couldn't do that with a little duplex or a triplex, fourplex. None of that stuff is not going to work. But you go to the bigger stuff.
Yeah,
now you can get 50-year amortizations. Is that what you're typically getting?
Yeah, with the MLI, the 50-year amp, the 90 95% loan to value. And we've actually been really lucky. We're hitting 100 points on the energy efficiency model there.
Yeah.
Which obviously gives us those incentives and those financing incentives through CMHC. So like for those of people still playing in the smaller areas, like if they can drum up the courage and the capital or whatever the requirements to get to that bigger playing field, it makes a huge difference. Just those two things alone.
Yeah. Well, so talk to me about the point system, because I've talked about this a little bit on this and my other show. It's not just energy efficiency, right? You can do some more accessible units, or you can do low cost units.
Yes.
Yeah.
Low. I forget the actual terminology.
But under market rent. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to have those in place. I don't remember because I've never gone that route with the MLI. But you have to have them in place for like, I think 5 years or something like that, which for us really wasn't the direction we wanted to go. But there are those two different components of the program. We've always opted to go energy efficiency. Typically, you're going to spend $6,000-7,000 on the energy efficiency report. And obviously, if the building has a 20-year-old boiler, the biggest caveat is you want to get rid of the gas consumption.
Yeah, they don't like gas, huh? So they want to go heat pumps with everything.
Heat pumps in all the units.
Yeah.
Even obviously electric. If you have to subsidize a bathroom, then you're throwing your baseboard electric heater.
So do you keep baseboards as backup when you do the resistant heating?
Absolutely.
For resistant heating, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So most of the buildings that we've acquired over the last several years have all been low on the energy efficiency podium.
Yeah.
So we've been able to hit those 100 points quite easily, just by eliminating that boiler and going to heat pumps everywhere.
So just put them in every single
LED
unit.
lights,
Yeah.
low flush toilets, low water consumption taps, and all that jazz. But the beauty of it is it's spelled all out for you in that energy efficient report that you're paying $7,000 for.
So you get the report at the beginning, or is this like it's a 2-part report? They visit at the beginning, and then they make some recommendations, and then you carry them out, and then they do a final inspection, and then the report. Is that how that works?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. But you know what the funny part is? There is no final report. There's no final inspection.
Oh, okay.
With CMHC, obviously you're signing away that the work's been done as
so
per
they say to do
model.
it, and then you do it.
Yeah, and then you're supposed to be carrying out that work and then signing off that the work has been completed and whatnot, and then you're good to go.
Okay. Now they did recently change this program. Something to do with the financing, didn't like the construction element, or private lending. They don't like that element of it.
Yes. So CMHC came out with, it was a couple months ago now. If you, first of all, you have to use an NHA approved lender.
Okay.
Don't ask me what the acronym stands for.
National Housing Association, I'm guessing?
Something like that. Yeah. So you have to use an NHA approved lender from the start. So for example, Peak Hill is an NHA, or Equitable. Okay. Is NHA approved. So if you're going to go with, let's say, a BTB from the start,
or a fully private or something like that, so then you're going to need 2 years with an institution before.
Bingo.
This is what I was thinking. Like, I feel like your RBCs, your TDs, and all that, like they're eventually just going to come out with some sort of supporting program to say, okay, do it for 2 years, and then we'll move you into an MLI Select program at that point.
Because right now, as you mentioned, the way it stands, if you went with a private to start, you can't apply to CMHC until that last until construction's finished. So if it's a 2-year construction project, then construction's done. You take, let's say, your last construction draw, then the clock starts then
for 2 years,
for another 2-year period.
So they don't so it has to be with a proper bank or an NHA approved lender, and it has to be 2 years after construction's done. And this is to weed out rent evictions. Yeah,
you're in the know.
Yeah,
exactly.
So that obviously is a wrinkle. So, and you're trying to bank on this, right? You're setting up new deals, you're bringing in investors, and all the while, I guess they could change this yearly, right? They could change their
do whatever they want.
Yeah. So they ran it for 1 year, and then they made a bunch of big changes, right?
Right. So if you anticipated, you're selling this to your investor to be in and out of the deal, let's say in 16 months, 18 months, you just tacked on another 24 months on top of that, which obviously changes the numbers.
It changes the dynamics. It changes the expected return. But with any luck, you can find a way to make some cash flow in the meantime, and this is not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the end all be all, but it's definitely a little bit of a wrinkle.
Yeah, for sure. So this is the methodology now. I get that. So you kind of changed. I remember before, because you were doing stuff like the duplex, the up-down duplex, and then you could add 2 more units to it. And now that's probably even legal.
Yeah, well, now you can make them legal for sure.
Yeah.
But, I guess our we hit the wall there when, we were doing these and we were refinancing these triplexes north of $1 million.
Yeah.
And refinancing them at 2.5%.
And they worked really well, cash flow.
Worked well. Yeah. And we pulled out all our equity and, sometimes even additional equity or additional capital coming out. So you're, 50 grand above what you put in, so to speak. And the numbers worked and you still had cash flow at 2.5%.
Yeah.
But given we're high 6s, low 7s, and now you have a $1.1 million refinance that once was 2.5, but now it's 7%.
It changes things. So do you have some of those in your portfolio still that are just coming up and renewing, and then it's not so pretty?
It hasn't been pretty for a while because they've all been variable.
Oh, okay.
So we've always, as well as I do, if you opted for variable prior to all, this happening.
For a while, it was very profitable. In the long run, it's considered profitable. It's just in the short run, it might not be.
Yeah, it stings a bit right now, for sure. Yeah. Definitely negative cash flow on some of those properties because most of them, like I mentioned,
have older tenants in them. I'm sure if you could get it up to market rents, it could probably cure that.
It would definitely soften the blow.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. But some of them are definitely in the red. But I'm a firm believer, if you can ride the wave, and things start to turn around, we'll see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. It should. Like the issues and the fundamentals are the same. Like we still need housing. There's a huge deficit in housing for the number of people coming into the country. Obviously, the dynamics of that could change, but as it looks right now, it's hard to imagine prices stay down that long unless something happens with immigration and it doesn't come in that quickly anymore.
Right.
But if anything, this year less houses. I'd have to look at the reports for 2023, but I'm sure less housing starts happened than 2022. It would make sense because just a lot of developers are just like uncertain. So there's circling around a reason why housing in Ontario probably still makes a lot of sense if you can bear dealing with the landlord-tenant board and all the issues that come with that. So tell me your outlook now in Ontario, knowing the landlord-tenant board has become a little bit more difficult to deal with. The waits have been longer, although it's getting a bit better now.
Slowly but surely, it was pretty bad last year. Like, let's say first, second quarter of 2023 was horrendous. Horrendous. But I've noticed it's starting to pick up. We're still acquisition mode. Obviously, it's all about the deal, but we're still buying. We're still searching. We've expanded our team, so we have an in-house off-market team now that we're campaigning huge.
Are you mailing letters?
Yeah, we're mailing. That's our primary. Like, we're sending out $20,000-$30,000 flyers across obviously targeted cities and areas.
Yeah, that's way more than just Hamilton, I would assume.
Yeah, obviously.
And you're just going after the multifamily?
Yeah.
So I guess the question is about the lists. Are you actually manually building these lists for each city based on tax roll data for the mail outs and all that?
Correct.
Yeah. And that's something not a lot of people do. I've been talking about that lately. I'm like, in the States, that's so common. Like, you can just do that so easily. But here, the information, it's not like you can just go on PropStream and get all that data.
No.
I could get that data within the hour for like most American cities.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's worked well for us. And obviously we still partner with different investors. And obviously we're bringing those great opportunities to our database, whether we're going to partner on that acquisition or we end up just wholesaling that deal to different investors that don't want to partner. They just say, hey, if you got a great X amount. Here's my budget. Let me know. So no, we've had, it was a good year last year with respect to adding that component to our office. We did well. So
you're bringing in your own leads. You can sell some of them if you're not going to do them all. That's a nice thing to bring in. And then of course you can get your pick like of the deals you want, the deals that make the most sense to you.
Yeah. We're still a little bit of a battle with sellers are still thinking
the expectations are still high, right?
Yeah.
So you're hitting them up with an off-market offer. They're like, "Great, how much are you going to give me?" Like thinking that they got a live one,
and they want to negotiate a deal as if it was on market, and they're paying realtor fees and 5% fees and all this jazz, and it's kind of like we get it done, but it takes a lot longer because you're dealing with mostly, the older European kind of folk that are set in their ways, but yet they think they're going to get $230 a door. When off market, you're probably somewhere about $165 to $175.
And what cities would you be those rates?
We're looking at Hamilton, St. Catharines, Welland, Niagara. Obviously less in Niagara. Picked up some stuff in Burlington.
Okay.
So yeah, it takes longer with negotiations, but once you'll always, sometimes we let it go, then we come back to the table and, hey, it's us again, and baby steps again. And then finally, 3 months later, but obviously the juice is worth the squeeze, so to speak.
Yeah, it's worth playing the long game on that stuff. You keep on them and you have a list of leads that just keep following up, and eventually their expectations come down and time passes, so to speak.
Yeah. Bingo.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Now, do some of these people go and list and then take it back off, or
on occasion
that happens sometimes?
Like we just couldn't make it happen, and then they're like, "Oh, my brother-in-law or my cousin or somebody, is a realtor. I'm just going to list it," and then they end up listing, and it doesn't go anywhere either.
So then they come back to you, and they're more willing to.
And it's like, okay, and we're watching it, so we're waiting for the listing to get canceled or expire, and then obviously.
Then you reach out again?
We reach out again. And sometimes it's been like 7 months, and then finally we get it done. Again, the juice is worth the squeeze. So
what kind of software are you guys using to track that? Because that's you have a big operation. You probably got a lot in the pipeline.
Yeah. So our CRM is Follow Up Boss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a common one. A lot of realtors use that one, right? Yeah.
Big in the real estate space.
Okay.
We find it well. It's really user friendly. It's simple to use.
Yeah, that's perfect. Simple is needed.
Yeah, exactly. When you have that volume, so
yeah, like if you're sending out 30,000 in a month, a typical month, you're 30,000 flyers.
No, I'd say, let's say a quarter. I'd say we're probably 30,000 a quarter.
Okay.
Yeah,
but I mean that's a mailing direct to apartment owners. So you basically have gathered lists from those cities and potentially a couple others. Yeah. That's a lot of work. So you have some boots on the ground to go around all that information.
We have 2 guys full time that are doing that for us, and obviously they're our eyes and ears, and they're bringing us the deals first as we get responses coming in, and then we'll set up meetings, obviously tour the building, and then bring and again, it's usually older gentlemen that have had the building for 20,
a lot of
years.
European owners.
They don't want it anymore. They're ready to cash in. The kids don't want it, and they don't want to deal with that. So I guess they've seen their dad go up and down and sideways over the last 30 years. So they're like, I'm not dealing with that. So then it comes to us, and obviously we capitalize.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's most importantly getting in those conversations, being able to close quickly. So how have you set yourself up to be able to jump on those opportunities? Because obviously some of them are going to come in, they're going to be bigger buildings. Well, I guess you were cherry picking what you want.
Yeah. Obviously.
What's the biggest you're going for?
50, 60 units.
Okay. And so you're a couple of million into those.
Yeah, easy.
So do you keep a certain amount liquid just to be able to move on those, or are you raising funds quickly when?
We're raising funds pretty quick. I wouldn't, like if we got 5 tomorrow and they're all 40 units, could I do that? No.
Okay, so you'd be passing on some of the deals.
Yeah, we'd be definitely passing on.
Have you found yourself having to pass on some deals, or you probably usually have somebody in your network that'll take it?
Yeah, they're not coming in, like I said, the max we'll be dealing with, like actively we can get this under contract this week, so to speak, is maybe 2 to 3 a month.
2 to 3 a month.
Sometimes more. But I'd say bare minimum, we're looking at least 3 deals a month.
So you're going firm on 3 deals a month.
We're putting under contract.
Putting under contract. Oh, okay.
3
okay.
deals
So
a
you're
month.
firming up on how many of those do you think?
I'd say at least 2.
2. So 2/3 get it closed.
Yeah, and if we can't, then we'll wholesale
Yeah.
it out to the database as far as, hey, we're not going to do it in partnership with so and so, but we'll put it out to the database.
So your math is like 24 buildings a year you're closing?
Give or take, I'd say we're definitely north of 20.
That's insane.
Yeah, we're north of 20.
And you're raising all this.
We're raising it through. So I think the next step is potentially going to a fund structure. But right now, typically, we're just in partnerships.
So just people coming in. Do you do like a GPLP per building?
More
or
of a JV structure.
just a JV per building? So do they put it in their name and you partner in it, or it's in your name or equal?
It depends on the structure. It could be in theirs, or we just obviously start a new entity, a new corp.
Yeah, and then just 50-50 shareholders?
Yeah, then we have the splits.
Would that be the normal?
Typically, yes.
Yeah, like a shareholder agreement, and that's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's your, so ownership wise of your organization, is it just you or is it like a family
Right
thing?
now, right now it's just me and my family.
Yeah. Okay. And how many employees do you have?
Spread across our entire organization. So we have in-house construction. We have property management in-house as well. And then obviously the acquisition side, the off-market side. And we launched a new real estate office as well, 6,000 square feet in Hamilton. So I'd say across the board, we're probably 20,
Okay.
17 to 20.
And you're a realtor?
Licensed realtor as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still do some of that transacting?
Yeah, I'm still actively transacting as well.
Yeah. Do you play golf too, or?
I travel. Like people say, so what do you do for fun? Because you work 12, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. I love to travel.
Yeah.
If we can get away 6, 7 times a year.
Yeah.
Because I guess the pace we're going at and everything we have on the go, honestly, I need it. I just need to
Yeah, I would say.
unwind.
Yeah.
It's like having 6 2-year-olds running around in your house. Like we were just talking about that,
Yeah.
both of us. But yeah, it gets pretty hectic. But we have some really, really good team members in place that definitely we leverage to obviously help us out.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, how do you find that transition goes? Like, because I don't know, before, I don't think you were anywhere near that number of employees back when you were doing the
not at all.
duplexes, a smaller scale operation. I remember you telling me you were a police officer before. And yeah, how long ago was that?
So I did 21 years of service in Mississauga, Brampton. And I retired from the police department in 2017.
And you were already fully underway with investing at that point.
Yeah, I'd already picked up a few.
Yeah.
You know, I had a decent sized portfolio by the time I left the police department. Again, more in the duplex, triplex, fourplex space. And then from there, once I really focused on just being a full-time investor, things really started to scale after that.
And where do you find, like, when was the biggest point of acceleration? Was it like a linear, or was it an exponential curve of like team growth, revenue growth, asset growth?
I'd say after 2021,
Yeah.
it exploded after that, really. Let's say within the last 2 to 2.5 years, it really exploded, where I really just hunkered down and focused on that business model of, I like to say Costco, where we really honed everything under one roof.
Okay.
Right from, again, sourcing the deal, underwriting the deal, presenting the deal to investors, followed by the construction in-house, followed by the property management in-house, and step 1 to step 10. And it really attracted a lot of high net worth individuals as far as being that one-stop shop. And I'm only dealing with Adrian and Adrian's team, and it's all in-house. And I think it really attracted a lot of, like I said, really good investors, because they felt comfortable that it was Costco.
Yeah. Meaning you got a big variety of stuff.
Yeah, and we're not sourcing, Luigi down the street to do that or Tony here from there. It's just Adrian and his team, so to speak.
Yeah, that obviously there's a convenience to that. So you can just...
And are competitive, like obviously owning shares of the acquisitions and stuff. We're very competitive in our pricing and our value that we're giving everybody. And they're dealing with me directly and right from the start to finish. So I'm there to answer questions. In the business, half of your day is spent on the phone, talking, negotiating, bringing opportunities, and then still keeping that relationship with the investors as we go through the project from start to finish.
Yeah. There's a lot to do. And I guess I'm just so fascinated by the fact that like, you were at one point not an entrepreneur at all. Just working a job.
Zero business background. And to this day, it was more of self-taught. I drove a cruiser, for 21 years. And it just kind of grew organically. And then learn as you go, training on the job of myself, failing. There's been some ups and downs for sure. But I've learned from different failures along the way. Nothing major, just little hiccups here and there. One project went that way when it should have went that way, but we fixed it and kept moving. But, like they say, you fail forward and you learn and you keep going. So no business background at all. Just a bit of luck, I guess a little bit of energy and persistence.
Well, you're definitely bringing energy to it. Some of these moves, they would be hard for somebody on the outside to understand fully, when for you, they were probably logical and in sequence. Like, oh, okay, well, we're paying this much for property management. We've got a team. Let's just move it in-house and figure it out, kind of thing.
I think, I loved being on the job with the police, and it really taught me a lot of sequence, and it taught me a lot of, if I do this, that, 6 months down the road, come court time, what's going to happen in court if we investigate something this way? And it's kind of taught me the step-by-steps, even just your mental planning. So if I, carry out a project this way and I do this and that, what's it going to be like a year and a half when we're ready to refinance? And kind of forecasting and planning the project accordingly, so you don't get stuck, taking a huge bath on it. So just mindset, if that's the word I'm looking for, and or organization and step-by-step planning. The police department taught me a lot of that too, because there was always, the final day always happened in court. And you're going to justify everything you did and your actions on the road in court. And obviously, if you carried out yourself properly and I guess planning properly, you're going to have a conviction at the end of that case. Same as if you plan out your project, your 30 unit, X amount $1 million acquisition from start to finish, taking into account, obviously how long is it going to take us to turn this over? How many tenants are lifers there, and we're going to have to pay extra, and all these other things that can happen. If you factor all those things in, you're that much plausible to be successful at the end. Does that make sense?
It does. I think like that's one element of it, but the other is like you're pushing at a pretty aggressive level. Like to go out and keep acquiring and acquire at that pace is, I mean, from an individual, like from a basic needs standpoint, way beyond. So
way beyond.
What is it that drives you to do that?
I love it. It's fun. We have such a good system in place now, and we're not, touching on the fact of over leveraging. We're not over leveraging. We're not using private funds here, there, and everywhere. 14, 16%. You hear some horror stories about that. We really have honed right from our underwriting capabilities to our lending capabilities and everything in between. And the people we're partnering with are obviously high net worth individuals as well. And I think the trajectory coming back is definitely going to work in our favor for sure. Because I still believe we're buying these buildings under value or under market at the present time. And
well, the way you're buying them is helping with that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So where do you see yourself, or where do you see, I guess, if you had a crystal ball, the way 2024 is going to play out?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are a little too optimistic about the interest rate dropping, and that actual sentiment is actually going to be likely to stop it from dropping, because the bond markets are pricing in rate drops. But that's assuming it's going to happen. But that actual very thing is causing people to be a little more bullish on the market. So I think it actually makes it a lot more likely that we're probably going to see very few rate cuts this year, if any. That's kind of my thought for the year. I think a more stagnant real estate market that's stalled for a while is probably the most likely outcome as this whole balance of immigration versus interest rate battle plays out. One's pushing one way, one's pushing the other for real estate prices. So where it lands, who knows? But I find it interesting that you are, doing this in Ontario, because I think a lot of people are sleeping on Ontario right now. So many people are fed up with the real estate laws, the landlord-tenant board.
Landlord-tenant board's killing it.
They do, but for anybody willing to put up with it and prices that into their deals, it's like, there's your opportunity. And I've given this example before, but one of the most profitable deals I had done up to that point, it was back in 2017. It was in a heritage neighborhood where everybody just avoided it. Mm-hmm. So I got a property for $70,000 under what it would have cost, and it ended up being one of my more profitable deals, most profitable at that point, because I was doing business in a place everybody else thought, nah, I don't want to do that. But so if you're willing to learn the systems, kind of learn how to navigate that market, you can do really well.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
All right. We should run through a deal, something you're looking at, get an idea of kind of how the numbers
I wish I brought my laptop, because I'm actually looking at a vacant 6-unit right now. Okay. But I don't obviously have the numbers memorized.
But even just getting into some ballparks of what you're kind of looking at in general, you know, buildings at this price point, rents are going to be around these points,
I can generality we can.
Generalize a Hamilton deal for me.
So let's talk about this 6-unit vacant.
Okay.
Sorry, it's a 7-unit vacant in Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
It purchase price is $850,000.
Man, it wasn't that long ago people were buying duplexes for that.
It's completely vacant. It's pretty much down. Let's just say it's down to the studs.
Okay.
So here's a scenario where somebody purchased it about, let's call it 2 years ago, got in way over their head as far as the construction component. So many people lose their shirts on the construction component. If they really, it's their first, second, or third rodeo, and they're getting into an apartment building $700,000 reno. It's really made a lot of people lose a lot of money. But anyhow.
Yeah, construction is not for the faint of heart. You've got to know what's going on there. You got to trust your contractor if you're using one, and that's not an easy thing to do.
No, because everybody's got a bad story about a general contractor. I think we all have at one point in time.
I was just talking to a contractor that did work on my house, and I thought he was a pretty good guy, very patient. And when push comes to shove, there's some problems with the work from years ago. What's his attitude about it? Pretty much, don't call me.
Yeah.
And that's like a good contractor.
Yeah. It's not like he smoked you in the middle of construction or anything like that. Yeah.
No, but it's just, and I get it. A lot of people are in a hard time right now. So it's just what do you want from me?
Yeah.
Well, I get it. So that's why it's all about positioning yourself and having leverage in the relationship. And I like things kept right around neutral. You don't have leverage on me. I don't have leverage on you. We do business together because we like to. But that is a tricky part, right? Because getting to that relationship is not necessarily easy.
Right.
Yeah. Or if obviously if they really like doing business with you, they'll always be good with you. So that's cool. I'm sure you're there. You have an in-house team for that too?
Yeah, we have our in-house team, and we have if we're really busy, then we always go to a really select small core of subcontractors that we give a lot of business to. So we have obviously they appreciate when the phone rings because they know it's
your regular business for them. Yeah, that makes sense. So how much do you think on this $850,000 gutted 7-plex that you're gonna spend to get it back?
We're averaging $65,000 a unit.
Yeah, so you'll be $455 or so, and then you'd have some carrying costs associated there as well.
Yeah, let's call this project by the time the refinance is completed, let's call it a year.
Mm-hmm. So it's a year. What do you figure you'd spend in a year? Just like whatever mortgage?
Holding?
Yeah.
So we're probably going to be, well, this is going to be for sure coming from, this will be a 10% loan. 10% loan. Because it's vacant and it's down to the studs.
And you're borrowing for the rental money too.
Yeah.
Ultimately. So you're going to be like over 100 then, like 110,000 probably. Plus your insurance and such. So we'll call it 120 to carry it for the year. So you're in for like 1.425 all said and done when it's done. Does that make sense? Or?
Let's round it off to 1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. Okay. All right. 1.5 million. And not bad for a 7-plex that's fully, basically new on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you figure you'll rent for on those 7 units? Like, are they beds, one beds?
No, they're all 1 beds.
Okay.
And I'm figuring 17. Let's be conservative and say 1,700.
Mm-hmm. All right. Equals just running these numbers live here. Okay. So about 11,900 a month on that. Expense wise, let's just jump into some of these numbers. We'll just ballpark them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So there's no gas because we're going to do all heat pumps. So let's say $150 a month on water. Let's say common hydro. Let's even go on the high end, which I don't think it'll be, but let's say 200. Worst
200
case,
times
I think
12.
it's closer to.
What about the hot water? Is that do you have separate hot water tanks for each unit, or do you have one centralized?
No, we'll have a centralized tank.
So will that be electric or gas?
That'll be electric.
Electric. How big of a tank for 6?
What are they, 80 or 100 gallon?
You can get a 100-gallon electric tank?
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to have, that'll be contributing to your common electric, probably maybe make it a little bit higher. 300 a month, you think? Could be.
Let's say worst case scenario.
Yeah. All right. So you're getting rid of gas completely, and that satisfies the MLI select requirement. Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. Okay, so $5,400 a year on utilities I'm getting there, just between water and electric.
Okay.
No gas. Okay, so taxes wise, after you're done, what do you think you're going to be at there?
Prop tax?
Yeah.
Let's call it 7 to 10.
7 to 10? Okay, we'll do 10,000 for conservative. And an insurance on a building like that, like 5,000 or 4,000?
Yeah.
Maybe 4?
Go high if you want.
Okay. And now maintenance, I just have one maintenance number to cover maintenance and life cycle maintenance. I know technically with CMHC, they do 2% for life cycle, and then they would do 7 or 8. It's 800 a door now?
Yes. Yeah, it's per door.
Yeah, so we're going to be, let's see here. I really should adjust how I do this. I'm going to just add a row. So, okay. So that's going to be, let's call it 800 a door times the 7 units. Okay. And then we've got utilities done. Management wise, are you guys just doing it internal?
Yeah, we'll do it in-house, obviously.
So we should allocate something just for an internal cost. We'll put like 3% on that.
Yeah, I was going to say 3.
Yeah, I know CMHC. What would CMHC be? They'd be like 4.25%. Their assumption.
Yeah, I'd say 4.25 to 4.5.
Yeah, we'll run it at 4 just because that's sort of where their heads will be at. But just come back to that. So landscaping and snow. What do you got to do there?
It's called it 200 a month.
200 a month across the year.
Yeah, because there's really
It's not huge.
no, it's puny.
Okay, so 2,400 a year takes care of that, and then I just have like a $500 miscellaneous costs allowance here. Anything else that would have been in there? No, garbage removal, or do they just put it up to the curb themselves? All right, and okay, so value. What do you think that's worth when you're done?
I think you should run it at about a 5.5 cap.
Okay. Let's see
to come up with the value.
Yeah, so probably around like 1.950. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Yeah, 5.4% cap. DCR will be the question. Like, I guess if you're going MLI Select,
1.1.
1.1 DCR, and what do you think you're likely to get? Like, you're going to go for the 95%?
100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
so going for 95%, 50-year M?
Yep.
And you're going to be at what, like a 4.5% with that?
I think right now it's about 4.6, 4.7.
4.7. Let's see. So yeah, you'll just get your DCR. So at 1.95, you know these numbers. 1.95 is about a 5.4 cap, 1.1 DCR based on a 95% mortgage, 50-year AM, 4.7 interest rate. So there's $800 of cash flow left there. It's obviously not a cash flow monster, but probably a stable building that's going to go up in value quite a bit over time. And rents will go up over time, right?
Right. And what does the exit look like? Do you have those figures?
Oh yeah, how much money you got left in the deal? That's a good question. Okay, so let's see. We have a new mortgage of 1.8. You're all in for 1.5. So yeah, you're pulling out 350,000.
There you go.
So there's no money left in that deal. You know, and you have some flex to leave money in the.
Yeah, I was going to say we probably wouldn't pull the entire.
Don't pull out the entire amount. You could even go 80% loan to value with those terms. Then you got 2,000 cash flow. You're still pulling out 60 grand. You know,
Bingo.
That's okay. Well, I mean, I'm not allowing for legal fees and stuff here.
Yeah,
So there's obviously going to be extra costs.
I'd be happy to pull out 60 to 100 grand.
And then have a cash flowing asset, do it all over again.
Yeah.
And would you say your average deal is like a perfect burr like that?
No, I would say we got to be comfortable with at least, obviously our investors want to get the most amount of their capital out.
Yeah.
They actually are more attracted to that than having $3,000 a month cash flow because they want to rinse and repeat the model.
Because you can keep growing your wealth. Well, I mean, in this one, you're not like, it's not like you're aggressively paying off your mortgage. You're paying off like $650 a month.
Yeah.
And that's if you do the 80% loan to value. So you could obviously speed up that AM. Like there's room here in the cash flow. There's room in the DCR. You could go 40 years and, you know, and that's actually nice because if MLI Select, if CMHC changes the program, you still have flex.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Heck, you could probably make this work at 75% on a 25-year AM. No, not quite. No, it
doesn't work.
The DCR wouldn't work as well. So you kind of still want to get a CMHC program of some sort there.
Yeah.
So would you say like every one of your buildings you're running them to CMHC?
Yes. As of late, yeah. I would say within the last year, like every single one.
Yeah. And what about the ones where you're in transition? Did you have any where you were with the wrong lender? And what's your interim plan? Like, is this one going to be ready to go to CMHC right away? Or
that one will go right away. The intern plan is obviously a second bridge.
So you go to an institution, get a bridge for a couple of years, and then pull out the rest of the money. So in that type of scenario, you can help protect your investors' like level of return by getting them a chunk of their money back. So now their cash on cash goes up, and their return relative to what they had originally put in is better.
Yeah, it's not the greatest, but it's not the worst case scenario either. You're still getting a good chunk.
And what do you find investor sentiment is like when you have to have these conversations? I feel like a lot of investors are very aware of the situation and kind of just needing to be adaptable.
A lot of these, what's funny is a lot of these high net worth people that we're working with as of late, they get it. They really do. It's historically more of, years ago when we were doing the smaller stuff and people were leveraging, everything they had on a small HELOC. They didn't There were more challenges.
They were going to be higher needs investors, right? They're more like people investing, their last dollar. They're not okay to lose it. They're going to be very hands-on with you. Whereas you got these larger investors where it's just a tiny little piece of the pie for them.
Exactly. And it's kind of like, hey, Adrian, and these big boys, they've never come to see the building. They don't want to see the building. They just give me a shout if something's wrong. Give me a bi-weekly update on how things are progressing with, the turnover, the construction, stuff like that. Quick little email. And they're completely satisfied. To date, all these high rollers, they don't even, no interest to see the building.
What's your process to build out those contacts? Because I mean, content-wise, I know you are putting out some content. How are you attracting these people?
I think a lot of them are referrals. Okay.
You have one investor talk about something they're doing. Yeah, Adrian can take care of you kind of thing.
Yeah. A lot of them, the bulk of them are referrals. A lot of them are coming from different high net worth meetup groups that we attend.
Okay.
And just being in that circle with some other high net worth people. And then obviously you're rubbing elbows at the dinner table or, at the cocktail table, you're rubbing elbows and those conversations start. Oh, what do you do? What do you do? Oh, wow. There's no real magic trick.
Yeah. Just consistency. And I imagine you put all these people into Follow-Up Boss as well and stay in touch.
Stay in touch.
Yeah.
Invite them out to different functions that we're holding, stuff like that. They just like the whole real deal of, we're deeply entrenched here. It's not like, I'm working out of my basement. My laptop, so to speak. Obviously, we have a professional office like yours, a full circle staff, a full circle operation where they're like, okay, these guys are the real deal.
Yeah. Oh, it's really cool. It's, like I said, crazy impressive, coming from police officer, not an entrepreneur, to real estate investor, then to massive organization builder, in-housing everything. And I understand it's all logical steps. And then from the inside, which would be really cool to have just had a little camera on your shoulder following you around over these years.
We've definitely scaled it. Like I said, I'm very grateful. It could have went the opposite way, but it all worked out. Super grateful. Grateful.
Awesome. Well, what have we not covered that you would want to share on today?
We covered a lot. We covered our whole ecosystem, our in-house group of companies that perform in synergy together to create what we want to create for our investors. We're obviously a family run organization and have our team behind us. All in all, been in the business 13 years now.
Yeah.
Been in the business, meaning bought my first rental property 13 years ago, and I still have it actually to this day. And
very cool.
I bought it from our good friend, Mark Loeffler.
Oh, yeah?
Believe it or not, he was my first deal in Hamilton.
Yeah.
And it was a flip of his, and I still have it to this day. And there's probably, I'll leave off with this. There's probably no deal. The only thing I haven't done in real estate is land development. And I know you've obviously gone there, but as far as the multifamily space, there's probably no deal I haven't somehow navigated, been involved in, and gained that experience. So even if people just want to pick my brain on, I'm in the middle of this and that or whatnot. We've definitely been involved in every kind of transaction in the multifamily space that I can help with. And obviously a ton of experience behind us, given how we've been able to scale.
Yeah, really cool. So if people want to learn a little bit more about your journey, is there a place that they can go to do that?
We're so active on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Yeah, under your name?
Generational Wealth Inc.
Generational Wealth Inc. So is that the Instagram handle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or my name, Adrian Pannozzo. If you put that on Instagram, it'll come up as well. Easiest way, send us a message. Very
cool. All right. Well, thanks for coming over. It was
it's been great again. It's been 4 years.
Cool conversation.
Yeah, but great chat.
Yeah, likewise. Well, let's stay in touch.
Absolutely.
And now a word from our sponsor, Control and Compound.
Infinite banking in under 60 seconds. We've all got to save our money somewhere, and we think that a high cash value life insurance policy is the perfect place to save it. Why? We're going to save our money inside this policy, and it's going to grow tax-free. Down the road, we're going to get hit with an emergency or an opportunity, maybe a chance to buy a business, real estate property, an income producing asset. And instead of withdrawing from our savings account, we're going to leverage that asset. We're going to borrow the insurance company's money and we're going to invest in that opportunity. Our money is still inside of that policy, compounding, uninterrupted, tax-free, and our money's outside in this investment opportunity. We're going to rinse and repeat, all while providing a death benefit for our families. Down the road, we're going to retire. Now we retire with a high cash value life insurance policy with a lot of cash. We're going to start taking those policy loans again, but this time we're never going to pay them back. When I say never, I mean we're going to pay them back with the death benefit when we die, and our families are going to get left with the rest completely tax-free.
For more information, visit www.controlandcompound.com/Andrew Hines.